Margot. There we go. Okay, cool. I think everything is working, and there we go. It's the every Sunday show now, this time, because I'm going to be gone next week, and since I already missed a couple because of being sick and COVID and Gen Con and everything, I was like, yeah. I figured it'd be better to do two in a row than to have a big space in between again. We could talk about things. It'd be great. I hope that you folks are having a good time of day wherever you are. It is currently 9 in the morning here. I have a very mischievous cat who is, I don't know, she's checking out this plant, and I think she's going to knock it over, and then I'm going to be sad. Although it's not my plant. Let's see here. You know, it's called the Every Other Sunday Show, but the last one was the previous Sunday, so it should be called the Every Sunday Show. I mean, I did it on the title card. You know, that's some high end graphic design there. So you know, it's right there. Afternoon from Erskine, Scotland. I probably mispronounced that because I mispronounce a lot of things. Replacing the riser rail for my bathroom shower. Nice. That sounds not necessarily fun, I don't think. Not to me. Maybe you have a good time with it. I hope so. That Rob Human, how you doing? Uh, Deja Vu, hello. Owen Lee, how you doing? Nick Jones, hi from a rainy but mild Brigand. Bridgend. I'm not getting that one right either. Malev, how you doing? I need coffee. I also have some coffee, so that's good. Morning from the Philly area, says Eric. How you doing? So glad that the Sunday show is this weekend, as I'm on call next weekend and would have probably missed it. I would have missed it as well because I wouldn't be there because, like I said, I'll be in the Nova. I leave for Washington, D.C. Early Wednesday morning, and then I will be back, I think, on Sunday night. So that's the kind of the plan. I think in the future, I'm going to probably need to start coming back on Monday. But yeah. Good morning from a way too hot Oklahoma. How you doing, BF Bulldog? Yeah, it's going to get real warm here just before I leave, and then the day I leave, then it's going to get nice and cool again. And so it'll be lovely here while I'm gone. And then when I'm in DC, of course, it'll be DC, which is in most situations pretty hot this time of year and humid. So yeah. Morning from Quebec. How you doing? Checking in from Amsterdam. Howdy. Cleveland. Pope J-Rod. How you doing? Hello and good morning from Jonesboro in Southern Illinois. Howdy. Happy time of day. Getting in my daily walk. Nice. Greetings from North Carolina. Stevie and Junior Outdoors. Hey, Adam, first time live, but long time viewer. Thanks for all you do. Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. Hello from Midnight, South Australia. How you doing? Good to see you, Uncle Adam. How you doing? Good morning from Syracuse, New York. Finally settled on a light sea blue base coat for my Chaos Marines. Nice. Hello from Reading, UK. Just got back from playing Mordheim. Cool. Morning from Wisconsin. How you doing? Morning from Nutley, New Jersey. I've never heard of Nutley, New Jersey, but that's a fun thing to say. Morning from Columbus, Ohio. Back-to-back live streams. A red letter day. Indeed. Let's see here. I got 2 new 3-month-old kittens after my old friend Harry passed away 4 weeks ago. Still missing the guy. Yeah, my wife and I still miss Diesel, and that was back in like just around a little after Thanksgiving. But yeah, but we got these other 2 knuckleheads now. We got Rex and George. Those of you who are part of the Uncle Adam's Irregulars, the $4 a month Patreon group, I did the live show for the Patreon folks yesterday, and at one point George climbed up and was messing around back there, and I had to get shag his. He's a moose. He's like 18 pounds. I had to get him off of there, and he well, he did knock some things down, but that's, you know, he's a good boy. He's a big orange. Let's see here. Hey, from War to Warm Bavaria, base coating freshly 3D printed Tau Ghost suit proxies. Finding some hobby time. Nice. Morning from New Hampshire while I finish moving. Hoping to see you later this week at Nova. I'm planning on being there. Yeah, my flight's early on Wednesday morning. Surprise, Uncle Adam. Nice unexpected greetings from Berlin. We had a 10-degree temperature drop in one night. Those are kind of nice sometimes, you know, like when you're like, I was just saying to my wife yesterday that I'm getting to the point where I'm like looking forward to fall, you know, just because it's like humid a lot now, and I'm just like, ugh. Morning from Montreal. Hello from Edinburgh. Weather is confused here, but currently raining a little. Well, that's too bad. I have 2 Marvel Crisis Protocol models and a giant to paint today. Nice. Designing more and more 3D printed tools again. Nice. Cheers from Spokane. How you doing? I acquired coffee. That's good to hear, my love. Hello from Lower Slower, Delaware. Gotcha. Denmark. Peter, how you doing? Let's see here. Richard, howdy. Patrick, howdy from Harling, Texas. Every single Sunday show. Let's go. Indeed. Allison, how you doing? Coffee fully engaged here as well. That's good. That's good to hear. Afternoon from Puckle Church. Basing up some 28mm AWI stuff and some 15mm trucks for AK-47 today. I don't think I'm familiar with AK-47. VJ Morph, how you doing? Blake, how you doing? Beautiful weekend of sun and sand. Have fun on your trip out. Yeah, it should be good. I'll be working, you know, like I'll be in the Army Painter booth from noon to 3 on, I think, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And Vince and I have a class that we're teaching on Friday night. But otherwise, I'll be doing, you know, stuff, filming things and doing things and whatever. Let's see here. Afternoon from a mad windy Newcastle, Northeast England. Making terrain using Death Wizards as an excuse. Always a good excuse. Nice. Good to hear. Hello from London, getting ready to move house, but accidentally painting epic scale Carthaginians instead of packing. This happens. That happens. That's, yeah. Painted figures look better in boxes. It's true. Good morning from decidedly undecided to Saskatchewan, Mr. Adam. Make sure to give Phil scritches for us when you see him. I will. I will see him on Wednesday. Good afternoon from Athens, Greece. I have just learned for a skirmish game called Moonstone from the friend at UK. Have you ever tried it? I haven't, but I've kind of watched it played a bit. Moonstone, there were demos of Moonstone at the little convention that I run here in town back in June. Good morning from Wakanamawak. Now that I'm starting to paint minis, I've been revisiting your extensive catalog on beginner painting tips, tricks, and advice. Well, that's cool. That's the thing that's great is you can always go back and watch the old videos, although you can go back then and see my hair get darker and stuff like that. But, you know, what are you going to do? First time in ages I'm able to paint while watching the stream live, whitewashing and relabeling base rims with new names to make Kill Team 2021 teams into Kill Team 2020 or into 2018 Kill Teams. Interesting. Hello from Quebec City. Cut down painter tarp from dollar store makes for cheap battle mat. True. Yeah. Let's see here. Robert, how you doing? Leaf on the Wind, morning. When does the new Snarl zine come out? Still enjoying the last issue? Snarl will come out in early November. Yep, it is in progress. Currently, it has gone through first level of playtesting and is now in development, and then we'll go through second level of playtesting and then proofreading / copy editing, and then I'll start layout probably in late September is the hope. So, yeah. Getting one last paint session in before moving this week. Finishing up some Steiner battle mechs. Nice. Pups keep growing, not growling. 70 to 105 pounds. Oh my goodness. Have you looked at Baron's War? I can't remember if you were interested in historicals. I'm generally not a historicals guy, and I don't think I've heard of Baron's War. Hope you're feeling better. Yes, for the most part, yes. I actually slept in bed last night and not on the couch. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I did get up and have a bit of a coughing fit, but otherwise, it was, for the most part, pretty good. So I was glad. I was getting tired of sleeping on the couch, honestly, just because it's not made for sleeping, you know what I mean? The bushwalk did not quite kill me. However, it did come close. Well, I mean, it's good that you're alive, but I hope that it wasn't too dangerous. Hope there weren't any drop bears. You know what I mean? Good morning from the marshes of the Chesapeake Bay, building terrain. Nice. Good afternoon from Girona. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Spain. Painting some scenery for our next Death Wizards game. Nice. I'm overnighting a train to Nova Wednesday night. Going to be long, but worth it. Oh, that'll be cool. The only time I've ever really ridden on a train any distance was when I was in Denmark. You land in like Copenhagen, and you got to take the train all the way across the country, pretty much to Skanderborg, and then on the way back, so I could leave. Watching along while my kids paint. Proud dad moment. Nice. Uncle Adam's collab when? Collab with what? Excuse me. Good morning from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm so jelly that you're going to Nova. It's a good show. It really is, and especially since it's moved, I really like the new location a lot. Mainly, like, sure, it's bigger and it's nice that way, but it's also in an area that is much more conducive to not having to eat food truck food the entire weekend. It's moved to the Washington Hilton, which is where the correspondence dinner happens. If you've ever watched the correspondence dinner, where there's a bunch of like senators and congress people and politicians, and then there's like a comedian who's like the MC, and it kind of makes fun of them and all that kind of stuff. That actually happens down in the basement where the 40K tournament is going to be. That's actually also where the Army Painter booth is going to be, is down in that room. It's also where Ronald Reagan got shot back in '83, I think it was. So it's got some historical gravitas. But it's also just nice because there's restaurants around there. Like the old place, which was a really fun location. I mean, it was a fun building. It was kind of interesting and weird, very vertical. But there was like one restaurant within 4 or 5 blocks. Like that was it. And in this situation now, you pick any direction, walk about 2 blocks, you'll walk past about 5 restaurants. So it's real nice. Let's see here. Morning from Pittsburgh. Hope everyone's having a great weekend between trips and poking my head in. Nice. Hello from Santa Cruz. Howdy. Hello from Texas. Chesapeake. Good afternoon from a sometimes sunny, sometimes rainy Isle of Wight. I hear that happens, sure. I had no idea we had so many N folks here. Happy Sunday from the DMV. Oh, that's finally started painting my half dozen Imperial Knights after fully magnetizing them. With a little luck, I'll be done by Christmas. The magnetizing can take a long time. I've deployed the 3rd coffee for myself, working on a Taros Venator for my Enforcers gang. Keep up the paint, people. Sure. Hi from Glasgow. What do you think of the quality of Corvus Belli minis? I think that they make really nice minis. I think that they've gotten better with their metals. I built a Corvus Belli Infinity model a long time ago, and it was, I bet, 15 pieces, and that I nearly died. And but nowadays they've reduced the pieces quite a bit. And of course now with Warcrow, which is their fantasy game, they're not metal pieces at all, from what I understand. I think they're all Ceocast. So that helps too. Good morning from Boston. Looking forward to Nova. Nice, Fist and Stone. Will you and Vince be selling copies of some of your games like Death Wizards at Nova? I don't think so. Normally, yes, but I had COVID, and so therefore I completely flaked and didn't get a chance to order. Normally what happens is I will order books and send them to Vince, because Vince drives to Nova because he likes to drive, and B, he lives way closer than I do, as far as being east of me. But I didn't do that in time because I was sick, and now it is too late. So I don't know that we will. We may have some of the older games there, but we won't have any Death Wizards, unfortunately. So he and I are going to have a meeting tonight and decide about that. But otherwise I don't think we'll have that. Working on several conversions for Necromunda, coming from Argentina. Very cool. Temple Patrick, North Ireland. Batch painting 100 orcs. Ooh, that's a lot of orcs. Let's see here. We're from Calhoun, Tennessee, working on several conversions for Necromunda. Did I say that one already? I might have said that one already. Your voice sounds better today. Hope you're feeling it. Yeah, so far so good. Not too bad. AK-47 are rules for battles in modern Africa, 1950 to 1990s by Peter Pig. I don't think I'm not familiar with that. Making cupcakes for a friend's birthday and painting some corn bloodbound between steps this morning. Nice. See, you're definitely like using, you're not wasting any time, which is good. Sometimes you need to waste time. You need to just kind of like read a book or whatever, which is not necessarily wasting time, but you know what I mean. But if you're like, I'm cooking, but I'm also painting, that's like, you're definitely keeping all your bases covered. Took your advice and branched out from 40K a bit. I tried Battletech the other day. I got to say, rolling for damage and determining the results really felt like a chore. It took way too long. Yeah, Battletech takes too long. Just straight up, I don't know that. If you were to say, I want to branch out and try something else, I wouldn't tell you not to try Battletech because it might be for you. But Battletech is definitely, yeah. There's a lot to it. There's other games out there, and even within Battletech, there's Alpha Strike, which is kind of a simplified version of Battletech. You might want to take a look at that as well. Hope Nova is great and you don't bring back more crud. I mean, I hope I shouldn't be able to, I would think. I don't know. But we'll see. Good morning from Castleberry, Florida. How you doing? Thanks for the health update. My wife was worried about you. Oh, it was like I said, it was COVID. I went to the urgent care. They checked my oxygen levels and they're like, yeah, no, that's fine. Here's some pills. Why don't you take those and rest? And so I basically did that. So, but I appreciate that though. Speaking of drop bears, my drop bears tabletop game from Platypus Industries finally arrived last week. Need to get it to the table. The minis of the bears are very cool. We'll post pics on the Discord. Nice. Just picked up Space Marine board game and Warhammer introductory set. Like Space Marine board game based off of the video game. So I think I saw pictures about that. Checking in for a few minutes from Middle Tennessee before I dive into mowing. It's going to get hot out here this week. Yeah, mowing. Yeah, I get it. Hello from Ireland. How you doing, Jimbo? Just back to Kickstarter for a load of cool undead minis. They'll be perfect for Death Wizards. They're called Bad Guys by Scribor Monstrous Miniatures. Nice. Best wishes, bud. How you doing, Nurgle? Nurgle Matthew. Morning from sunny and hot Middle Tennessee as well. What class are you and Vince teaching? We're teaching a class about game design, about like, how to get into game design and how to like kind of how we do it, and it's gonna be a lot of Q&A, that kind of stuff. We'll probably talk about content creation as well. Usually in the description of the thing we talk about both. This year, I don't know, when we did the description, we just basically talked about it, but we'll answer most questions, honestly. Let's see. Hello from Cincinnati. Battletech Hobby Day today. Nice. Good morning from Eastern Connecticut. Cleaning my hobby room today so I can actually do some painting. That's probably not a bad idea. I get it. I should probably do the same. I want to clean off my desk because I want to deploy my cool light, my light from Game Envy, the Lucent light, which is really good, but I haven't been able to get it exactly where I want yet. I have to move some things around to make that happen. Rome, New York, working on gargoyles for 40k Tyranids. Nice. Gonna finish my Stormcast Spearhead today. Nice. Rather be in the DMV than the DMZ. I think so, yeah. Good morning from sunny Colorado Springs, Colorado. Do you know of any conventions around the Denver area? If so, have you been? Is it worth going? I don't even think been to Denver. Have I been to the Denver airport? I don't think so. I swear there is a convention or something that's near Denver, but I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But if anyone else here in the chat knows about any kind of tabletop gaming conventions in Denver, let us know. Good morning from Portland, Oregon. How you doing? Finally started painting again now that the temperature is doable. Understandable, Good morning from Brazil. How you doing? building the Age of Sigmar 3rd edition Stormcast Spearhead. Nice. With the lady with the wings. I didn't know we had so many New Jersey folks. Ah, gotcha. There you go. I wasn't sure what N folks were, but New Jersey folks. NJ, that makes more sense. Did you check out the last Cybor Monstrous Miniatures Kickstarter Bad Guys? A bunch of old school cool skeletons, perfect for Death Wizards. I didn't. I'm trying to think, do I know Cybor or Skybor or Scrybor or whatever? I know that there used to be a company that did a lot of resin stuff. Kind of like Cromlech and Spellcrow and companies like that was called something like that, Cybor or Scrybor. But it would make sense, I guess, if they've gone into STL stuff a lot. I mean, I get that. Using all the powers of my ADHD. Nice. Fun question. At Nova, is there like the spot and usually where that always overcrowds with interest at some choke point? I don't know, but always seems to be one at any wargame convention. A lot of people have a tendency to hang out by the painting competition, where they do the capital palette. I would say that that's probably one of the more concentrated areas to some degree. Also, a lot of people do have a tendency to hang out. They've changed layout a little bit this year. The vendor hall used to be in this actual kind of hallway on the first floor or whatever, but they've moved the vendor hall now down into the basement. So when you're heading down to go to that room that has the giant 40K, championship, that giant room where they have the correspondence dinner, when you go down like the escalators or whatever down to that, and there's like a little area, like a landing area, and then you go right and then you go in there, that whole area now is actually the vendor hall. So I bet a lot of people will hang out because it'll be vendor hall and 40K championship giant room all in one real close together spot. So that'll probably also be a thing. So the new Steel Rift sets are ace. Price point is nuts too. People's gonna go into Nova are in for a treat. I've been seeing some pictures. I'm not sure that I want the models. They're like neat looking, but they don't fit like in my head canon. Like you go from these sort of chunky Battletech-y kind of guys that are like shooting guns, and then you have these like robots that are roughly the same size, but they're all like melee and hand to hand. And I don't know that I want much melee in my game of fighting robots and such personally. So but I'm glad they're doing that because it's cool that they give options to people, but you don't have to take them. You know what I mean? Howdy, I'm in Kent, UK. Just picked up a corner display cabinet for models and for hiding my pile of opportunities underneath in its cabinet. Picked it up for 20 squid. Nice. Play Alpha Strike if you want a quick and fast robot explosions. Classic Battletech is a slog for sure. See, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Painting up some planetary backgrounds in the basement this morning. Cool, neat. Speaking of mech combat, have you heard that one-page rules are coming out with rules for mech combat? No, I hadn't. It makes sense. Like they've already like done stuff for, like normal kind of like army games and skirmish games, both sci-fi and fantasy. They've also done kind of Necromunda. Excuse me. They've also done the spaceship thing, although I can't think of what they call it now. They were calling it FTL, but they've changed the name. So yeah, a mech game makes total sense. From last year, their class was basically an AMA on content creation and game design. Yeah. I mean, we talked about some stuff, but a lot of it is also just like, question and answer, which I think is helpful. Morning from Idaho. I've been getting to work on a Warcaster for War Machine. What do you think about the acquisition of War Machine from Steamforge Games? I hope that things work out well for everybody on that. It will be interesting to see kind of how they're able to, if they're able to keep it afloat, because I'll be honest, War Machine's been kind of circling the drain for a while. And I think that if, like, Steamforge obviously can do pretty good work, so it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I do hope it does well for folks. But yeah. Going from ATL, it was awesome to see you at Gen Con. Well, absolutely. I'm glad. I hope you had a good time. I hope you didn't get the sickness like I did. Warcry tempts me so. Is it available in the US yet? I think you're saying Warcrow. Warcry is the game from Games Workshop. I don't know if it's. It might. I know it was available at Adept or at Gen Con, Warcrow, but I don't know if it's available at stores yet. Maybe it is. John Ashley Smith, how you doing? One of those Kill Team articles, there's a picture of an Eldar Guardian for a marksman card. That's not a bespoke Kill Team. I wonder if combat patrols will work for it too. That's interesting. Cat spotted. Really? I suppose. I guess I don't see him. What city is Nova open and held in? I have forgotten. So it's in Washington, D.C. It used to be held just outside Washington, D.C., in the Northern Virginia, hence the Nova, N-O-V-A, Northern Virginia. But it was still only 3 or 4 miles from the White House. That whole area is real weird borders and stuff like that. So, but now it is actually in D.C., but they just keep calling it the Nova Open. But yeah. I wonder if Combat Patrol. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. It'd be because I guess I haven't seen the Eldar Guardian unless that Eldar Guardian is maybe. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I know there was some Eldar bespoke lists, at least one I can think of, but I don't know enough about Eldar. What PSI do you use on your Sparmax for priming and base coating? About 20. I set it at around 20 PSI. War Fleets. That's what it's called. Yep. Kelly, how you doing? Cyber Monstrous Minis, I think it's one guy. He hand sculpts and green stuff. Oh, okay. So that's not what I'm thinking of then, probably. Those new starters for Steel Rift are something I'm actually enthused about. I got a copy of the rules back in July. My head has been spinning with Kit Bash ideas. Oh, yeah. I've got my copy of the rules right here, as a matter of fact. I have my 2 lists built and painted and the whole deal. And so I'm just working on some terrain now at this point. And then I think Sam and I are going to give it a try. Surprised that OPR didn't already have mech rules? Well, they've been working on what they've been working on, so that's good. Let's see here. Good morning from Fort Wayne. I'm exploring the Age of Sigmar world via Spearhead. I mean, that's what they're looking to do. That's how they want you to get into it, is via Spearhead. Just like how they want you to get into 40K is via Combat Patrol. I know through some of the comments and stuff on this week's video talking about the new Kill Team stuff and how I'm not necessarily jazzed on some of it. There were plenty of people in the comments who were like, well, this is how you're supposed to get into 40Ks via Kill Team. And I'm like, not since 2021. No. Initially that was kind of the thought in 2018, which is why you could use, 40K models to play. And then they were like, yeah, I don't know if we want to do that. And so then I think this is now at this point, step 2 or maybe 3 into getting it just completely separate. I mean, the stats and rules are nothing like 40K in Kill Team. You're basically only using these bespoke lists now, all that kind of stuff, which are models that you can technically use in 40K, but you can't use 40K models really in this because they got rid of the compendium. There's a bunch of people that are like, well, maybe they're bringing back the compendium. I'm like, then why would they say that they were getting rid of it? It's literally in that article about they won't be updating stuff for the compendium. So I guess they could change the name of the book just for reasons, just to keep us on our toes, but it seems unlikely. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think it would be great if it was actually a completely, totally awesome game and I really liked it. But so far I'm already like, Let's see here. Fort Wayne. Corvus Belly said there was a delay for shipping Warcrow, but it looks good, and I can't wait to get my copy. Nice. Waterloo, Ontario, working away on some Poxwalkers. Grandfather's gifts for all, indeed. Guardian is part of the Void Scarred Raiders kill team. See, that's what I thought. I thought there was something like that. That Eldar might just be a proxy for one of their non-player operatives. Could be, I suppose, too. Maybe. Have they just talked about what the non-player operatives are? Maybe? Question mark. Websites. So this was the article about playing co-op, which I didn't really read. So yeah, they're showing here, like, here's some of the NPOs. So how they resolve conflicting rules and split decisions is quite simple. They do whatever is worst for the players. In fact, the NPO, non-player operatives, behaviors and threat principles that govern how they act are so simple they fit entirely in one page. So if you're playing co-op or solo, I suppose, then you could be fighting against a bunch of orcs, or you could be fighting against a bunch of, I guess, Eldar. I'm sure there's more than that. I mean, here they've got some Tyranids, like Gene Stealers and stuff. I don't see like a comprehensive list of how many different types of bad guys you can fight against, but I would be surprised if Poxwalkers were not in that list, just because there's so many Poxwalkers. I would think maybe Chaos Cultists too. I don't know. We'll see. That would be interesting. But yeah, so this is from 2 days ago. Yeah, this is from Friday. I think this came out. Yeah, this came out after, of course, my video did. And some people were like, well, it says this here. And I'm like, well, it wasn't out when I did the video, as it turns out. But yeah, I don't know. I think the co-op thing is cool. I think the co-op / the solo thing is cool. And I'm hoping that things, at the very least, I'm hoping that's at least something usable. Even if it's not necessarily for me, if it's helpful for other people who already like Kill Team, then that's cool, because then they can teach other people and stuff like that. It's a smart move to head in that direction, like I said. It just kind of makes sense. Let's see here. Thanks for the Battletech feedback. I thought it was just me. The game just felt way too long for only 4 mechs in the field. Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a long and crunchy game. And if you're into that thing, that's great. But yeah, it is a lot. I have tables worth of small scale scenery on account of my love for Battletech and Epic. Perfect for Steel Rift. Oh yeah. I can see that. I'm double booked for the GW preview and a Steel Rift take and play demo. FOMO is real. I mean, the GW preview, you can just look at it online afterwards, honestly. Like, I've been to plenty of those things, and well, here's the deal. And hopefully they'll change things, because the last one I was at Adepticon, and it was an astounding waste of time. I think I told this story back around Adepticon. We all sat down, and they're going to start doing the presentation and everything like that. And normally they'll show like a video, and then the guys up on stage will talk for a bit about stuff, and they'll show maybe some slides, and then they'll do another video, blah, blah. And instead they showed us, and he said, all right, we're going to show you guys a video. It's going to be 112 minutes or an hour and 12 minutes or something crazy. No, hour and 12 minutes, or 112 minutes would have been nearly 2 hours. It wasn't that. It was an hour and 12 minutes. And it was just a single long video that ran that would show like, oh, here's some stuff, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, and then some like people talking about it. And then, ooh, here's something else. And you never got like just a good static image of a model that you could look at. It was always like a close-up Dutch angle, weird smoke effects, like speed ramp, like rotating thing. And you're just like, can I just see the models, please? I don't know what that thing looks like. And it was the worst, just the worst. Sorry, I had the wrong screen on. I apologize. I clicked the thing, but anyway, yeah, it was very bad. The last one, it was no good. So let's hope they don't do that again. So if you wanted my advice, I would do the Steel Rift thing and skip the preview. You could watch it later on. Do you think that GW releasing the new starter for Kill Team in the future after Hivestorm? Releasing the new starter for Kill Team. You mean the individual, like the Vespid dudes and the Tempestus Flyarondicus guys? Generally what happens is when they release one of those boxes that has like 2 forces in it, and maybe some terrain, or maybe it's one of the just quarterly boxes that doesn't have any terrain, then usually you can buy the models separately about 3 months later. So yeah, I'm sure they will sell the Vespids and the Jetpack Tempestus guys separately, usually 3 months later after launch. That's what the way it generally works. Kill Team 2018 got me back into the hobby since my childhood. Haven't touched the new one whatsoever. I have a group that wants to play the new one, so I'll probably try it out just to get some games in. Sure. Excited to get Steel Rift starter box. It's coming out soon. Nice. Kit bashed crew for Core Space this past week, looking to start a campaign soon. That's very cool. I think the article said the NPOs were model agnostic, but I could be wrong. I mean, everything's model agnostic if you believe in yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do. It was funny because there was a lot of people in the comments that were like telling me, well, you know, if you don't like those bespoke, you know, sets, you could just use whatever models you want. And I'm like, I know, I do. The problem isn't the models. The problem is generally the actual like rules and stats for these bespoke teams, and the very few choices you get on how you can kind of play them and how you can kind of put them to, you know, like how you can work the list together. I'm talking specifically about the list. The models are, you know, if you don't like the models, yeah, then definitely proxy stuff. That's fine. I just, it was funny that people were like, I don't know, I guess I wasn't making myself clear. I guess people thought that I was angry that you couldn't use 40K models at all. I know you can use 40K models to do veteran guardsmen if you want to, and you can work very hard to proxy them and make them look all perfect. But if you don't like the way that those lists build, there's no other option because they don't want to give you any other options. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the problem comes from. Rules fit on one page. Would you call them one-page rules? I mean, honestly, well, maybe. It's a good question. Good afternoon from Kent, England. Didn't get a notification, so I'm a bit late. Well, that's okay. Normally, this would be next week, but next week I'll be in DC, so that's why I'm doing it now. Working on a squadron of Lehman Russes for Imperialis, some Chemosian Auxilia for my Emperor's Children already. Any thoughts on the future of Imperialis releases, Epic Games in general? No. I don't know how it's selling. I don't know anybody locally that plays it. I got a friend who was interested, but I don't know if he ever actually pulled the trigger. So yeah, I'm not super familiar with it all told. Working on painting Blackout minis today. Really excited about getting the game to the table. It's a cool game, and the models are a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to getting Blackout to the table as well after I get back from DC. During the Patreon show yesterday, someone mentioned that there's a add-on now to Blackout that has solo rules, which is also pretty cool. I'm interested in that. I think it's called like Wet Work or something like that. There's Battletech Alpha Strike now for less crunchy rule set, more skirmishy gameplay, so that's a plus. Sure, yeah. I'm trying to acquire all of the Mantic starter sets for Firefight. I have the Dwarves and Rats so far. Nice. Camera went out? No, it's just I'm bad at pushing buttons. it's totally a me thing. I was gonna make a joke about you not actually being on the way, but with no cam, I assume you're actually driving. No, that's not the case. Terrier Halo, how you doing? Looks like all the Supernova swag bags might be getting Skaven tied. Yikes. Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess it's possible. I don't know. I've never done this like Supernova or like any of those things. You know what I mean? I've drifted so far away from 40K that I've lost track after I discovered OPR. Am I really missing anything other than great but exorbitant priced minis? Not in my opinion. No. I would say I personally am a bigger in pretty much every situation. I'm a big fan of the one-page rule stuff in comparison to the rules from 40K. Now that said, I do still enjoy Warcry. I think Warcry is a good rule set. They allow you to customize and build your armies the way you want to some degree. It's a lot of just like, here's 1,000 points. You need a leader in there somewhere, and then and that's great. I think that's a good idea. But yeah. All NPOs seem to be proxies. They divide two types, marksman and brawler. They can create archetypes with actual stats, which you use any mini that fits the archetype. They don't list specific units. Nice. Okay, that's cool. I think that's a smart move, you know what I mean? Started painting some aircraft for Legion Imperialis, a couple of Thunderbolts and a Marauder Destroyer. Plan to copy a real-world historical camo scheme, US SEA camouflage to be specific. Wow, that'll be... Camouflage is hard to paint sometimes, I find. Kilting measure, triangle, circle, did that ever make sense? It didn't, and now it's gone away, so that's a good thing. Good time of day to you, sir. Catch you on the replay as we are headed out for a hike. Well, have a good hike, Terrence. My other 40K branch out was Star Wars Armada, which has now discontinued by Atomic Mass Games. Yeah, that's a bummer. Just feels so bad when the game is just dumped. It's so good. Yeah, I did a demo of it years ago. A friend of mine was getting into it, and so he ran. He taught me how to play, and we played a game or maybe two. And at the time, I remember thinking to myself, "Man, I would get into this, but I'm already into X-Wing like pretty hard." And it just seems so odd to me that they were like, "Let's make two games that are they're not the same by any stretch of the imagination, but they're in the same wheelhouse and for the same, like property for Star Wars. Let's put them out almost at the same time." Like I said, if Armada had come out first, I probably would have gotten into Armada. Or if Armada had come out only, I would have definitely gotten into Armada. But because X-Wing came out first and everybody got into X-Wing and it was very popular, when they were like, "Hey, let's make another thing kind of like that and put it out there and see," it was a strange thing for them to do, I thought. But yeah, I heard this year for the preview they will lock the doors and play Warhammer Plus for 6 hours straight. Well, then I'm not going to go. Have you watched Grill Miniature Games video about starter boxes? I started watching it and then I got really sleepy because it was late at night and then I fell asleep on the couch. So I don't think, watch the entire thing. Waiting for the Mandrake Kill Team gets a separate release soon. Was that the most recent one? Was it Mandrakes versus squats or whatever? Or am I thinking of something else? Or was it Mandrakes versus like Night Lords or whatever? The Mandrake should be coming out soon, I would think. There may be people that buy the new Kill Team starter and sell one of the two Kill Teams on eBay. Yeah, that's true. You might be able to find them on eBay as well. Like most GW starters, I don't necessarily like the models, but I want all the books, terrain, tokens, and stuff. I'm holding off. Excuse me. The Jump Pack Tempestus Scions don't do a ton for me. They're fine. I like the Scions well enough. But the Vespids are, I think, awesome looking. I'm really looking forward to painting those. I don't know if I want to do them orange or not. I haven't decided. The quest for Cenobites STLs continues. Anyone in the chat today have any leads? Yeah, VJ Morph is he wants some Cenobites like from Hellraiser, but looking for like STLs that he can 3D print. They don't have to be, I'm assuming they don't have to be exact perfect, but Cenobite or Cenobite adjacent. If you've seen Hellraiser, you would know what's going on there. I think you want to use them for Rain in Hell, I think, which I think is a cool move. 2 Sundays in a row, indeed. You mentioned sales. Where did Death Wizards end up ranking with the other Snoarling Badger games? It's doing real well. It's definitely outselling. It's already outsold Majestic 13. I think it's sold more copies in its first month and a half than Majestic 13 had sold since we launched it last year. So in about 13 months, Majestic 13 sold X number, and Death Wizards beat that number in about a month and a half. So Death Wizards is doing well that way. It is, comparison-wise, Rain and Hell, I think, and Space Station Zero are selling, if you go apples to apples, first month, they both did better than Death Wizards. But I think with Rain and Hell, I think it was just, it's a good game, and it was also the first thing we'd ever done, so a lot of people kind of did. And then Space Station Zero, I mean, that cover sold a lot of copies. Honestly, it's just, the art in general did that. So, but yeah, no, we've been real happy with how it's going. It's been going well. So that's the other thing too, is that when we keep making more games, when we launch Snarl, the 2024 version of Snarl in November, it has a tendency to then also drive sales of the other titles. And so as we keep making titles, just, the first year, when we launched Rain in Hell came out in like late May. So by the time you got to like January, February, the amount of copies obviously had stopped. It wasn't stopping selling, but it was still not as many as obviously had sold right near launch or the next month after launch. But then when the second game came out, you don't. The point is that in the slow months, the slow months aren't as slow when there's more and more titles to choose from. You know what I mean? So that's another reason like why we're doing what we're doing. We're producing more games so that people have choices and options, and we're not just putting out expansion after expansion after expansion for the same game over and over again. But then even in the slow months, which are in those situations, well, actually now the slow months are also not as slow because we have a title that comes out in like late May and another one that comes out in November. So you don't get that low dip as much. So it's all planning. We're very, very smart. That's not that I'm well, Vince is, but I'm not. Yeah, it's doing good, and we're pretty happy with it. Like, yeah, we've been real happy with Death Wizards for sure. Let's see here. Speaking of Skaven's Tide, how are the rats coming? They're. I've got the last three. I've got the 3 rat ogres to finish. I've been painting them on Twitch, and then I have the main dude left, and then that's basically it. Then that Skaven Tide Spearhead will be done. If you want to play anything in epic scale, the new epic Warpath from Mantic is obviously the way to go. Gotcha. Unpopular opinion and heresy, but I stopped buying all GW stuff. Got burned 3 times now. Started 3 games of them, and then when I buy a book in 6 months, they change the rules. Yeah, no, I can understand that. Like, I try to paint pretty steadily, and I try to paint pretty quickly. But a lot of people take a lot longer time because either they just have fewer hobby hours to be able to choose from, or they're just much more careful, slower painters or whatever. And I see stories all the time from people who are like, oh yeah, I almost got my army finished and then a new edition of the game came out and now that army is screwed up and I can't use it in the way that I was planning. And it's, yeah. So the 3-year thing is, it's in my opinion, sure, it's driving sales, but I think it's long-term hurting the company over and over and over every single year when they come out with another 3-year product or whatever. And that's what's driving me nuts. So yeah, I'm not interested. Besides priming minis, what else can I use an airbrush for? You can also use it for painting minis. Like you've got, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're doing blood angels. So rather than just priming, you can prime and then spray them red, and then use a slightly lighter red as the highlight, like on the top of the helmet, top of the shoulder pads, top of the backpack, whatever, that kind of stuff. And then that way, when you're done at that point and you take it from your airbrush station to your like normal painting station, you're already way further ahead because your armor is done. If you're painting like a wizard who's supposed to have a purple robe, you can prime him and then paint the whole guy purple and then go back once that's done and then be like, okay, I'm going to work on the faces and the hands and the this and the that and paint up those other details with a regular brush. But when you can cover most of the work with your airbrush, it speeds things along quite a bit. There was a firefight starter with the Veermin, and Forge Fathers at Black Knight Games last time I visited. With no money in my pocket, sure. Let's see here. 2 years at Adepticon, we had 4 players. Last year we had 12. That's pretty cool. X-Wing was kind of unique as well. Lots of fleet scale stuff out there, not so much fighter level stuff. Sure. Really enjoying Stargrave at the moment. Love the creative freedom to make your own crews. Absolutely, absolutely. Airbrush is useful for blocking in areas of color and camouflage patterns. True. Yep. Mandrake the Magician versus Night Lords is the crossover I demand. I don't know if that's a thing. I think if they had planned X-Wing and Armada to work together on the same scale, I think that would have been more. I would have been more into Armada. I could see that. Armada just had fleet and fighters, and I always loved Starforged fleet combat, so that was an easy choice. It's just a better game in my opinion. Gotcha. Orange Vespids look a little murder waspy. Yeah, they definitely look like those murder wasps. That is definitely, I think, where they were going with. Which war game do you play the most these days? I hop around. Last thing I played was Flames of Orion. Played that over at Sam's house pre-Gen Con. let's see what else. I've been playing the mech games a bunch lately. I've been playing some Space Weirdos. Kept wanting to say Star Weirdos, but that's not right. Space Weirdos. Um, but that's the kind of stuff that I generally like these days. I want to play some. Sam and I have also played a bunch of Combat Patrol because we both got a bunch of different Combat Patrols, but we haven't played in a little while. What do you think about the future of Warhammer Underworlds? Is this the game ending? What's your opinion? I don't know. I don't know how well it's been selling, and I don't know how well it's been, how much it's been getting played. So I don't know. It's a good question. I feel like they're maybe getting towards the end, though. I could be wrong. With a bit of creativity, Titancraft lets you design just about anything. I don't think I've heard of Titancraft. That's interesting. What's the best base color for Saurians? I'm thinking of red desert lizards. Well, then it would be red. If you were using an airbrush, I would tell you to start with Encarmine Red from Army Painter, their airbrush line, and then highlight possibly with pure red. That's what I generally do if I'm doing like red Space Marine type things, you know what I mean? The minigame I'm playing at the moment is Mutant Zone Wars. I have seen that. They had it at Adepticon, and well, if they had it at Adepticon, they definitely had it at Gen Con, and I looked at it kind of hard, but I did not pick it up. But yeah, it's the models I thought are kind of cool. Haven't picked up Death Wizards yet, but I love the theming of Majestic 13. Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm very proud of Majestic 13. It didn't sell all that well, but I think that's the subject matter. I think that there are more people, interested in regular sci-fi and like fantasy than there are people interested in like UFO kind of X-Files versus XCOM kind of like, play and everything like that. But I think I like the game a lot. I really do. You think it's a bad idea to bring the family to a GW preview at Nova, thinking of skipping the show based on how the other previews have gone this year? They're just getting into the hobby. Well, it depends on whether they take notes. And when I said notes, I mean GW, not your family. At Adepticon, after that real mess of just like, hey, we're gonna make you watch this like, hour and 12-minute long video, like people were falling asleep in the audience. People were just having conversations over here. People were sleeping over there. It was like, it's not good. Almost directly after the preview, I went to some event that GW was putting on. It was like an invite thing for us, content creator nerds. And a woman from Games Workshop, who I'd never seen before. She was, she's older than me, I'm pretty sure. And she was English, and she had a shirt with the logo on it and all that kind of stuff. But I'd never come across her before at any convention. And she was at the event, and she was very nice. And she's like, well, what did you think about the show? What did you think about the preview? And I just straight up said, I was like, it was twice as long as it needed to be. It was way too long. And she was like, yeah, we've gotten some feedback about that. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you did. So it was interesting because at Nova last year, so Nova 2023, they did the entire preview in like 25 minutes. It was just like rapid fire, like, okay, here's this thing. This is pretty cool. Here's a picture of it. Cool, neat, like next thing. And they just were cranking it. And evidently they were like, I don't know if that worked. Let's go the opposite direction. And then Adepticon rolls around, and then they're like just this huge, long giant. And it was just like, so I don't know. I feel like they're trying things to see what works. And hopefully they won't go, oh yeah, let's definitely, do another hour plus long video, because I don't know that your family would be super interested in doing that. So yeah, it's hard to say, honestly. Mutant Zone Wars. Let's see here. There we go. Super excited for Snarl. Well, good to hear. Glad to hear it. Spent the entire end of last year making nothing but tanks. Nice. Yeah, it's like I said, should be early November. It's going to have, again, a micro game in it, and then there will be 2 or more kind of little mini expansions. Games with a long tail are great, or you get a few, or you get new fans, and when the new game drops, they have 4 other games for them to look at as well. We just didn't, for 2 reasons, we didn't want to just be like, we're going to make a single game and then that's going to be our, our ecosystem. Number one is because it's boring to us, like as designers, to be like, okay, well, it's, we got to make another expansion for Rain in Hell and another expansion for Rain in Hell and another thing. Oh, another expansion for Rain in Hell, as an example, let's say. And sometimes I feel like that can come across as being a cash grab. Now, someone might say, yeah, but you make a new game every year. Isn't that a cash grab? We make a new game every year, A, because it's more interesting to us to make something different every time. And 2, it is also, you might have somebody who's like, I'm not interested in Rain in Hell. Like, we had people who emailed us, like, after we launched the game, and they're like, I would love to support you guys, but I don't like the concept of demons for whatever reason. Or there's no shooting in that game, and literally we had a person who was like, I don't like games that are all just hand to hand. I like the ability to also be able to shoot if needs be. And we were like, well, we got another game coming out next year, and it'll have the ability to do both. And they're like, cool. So being able to like have different types of games can also hit different segments of the market and get, you get somebody who's like, I love Space Station Zero, I got no interest in Death Wizards, or I love Death Wizards, I got no interest in Majestic 13, whatever. And then we also got some people who are like, I want every one of these because they're all cool. That's fine too. We're happy to have that. But we just decided, rather than just like make one thing and then decide to hang our wagon on that, let's just keep making different things, because A, it's more interesting to us, and B, it just allows us to be able to reach out to, like I said, to different portions of the community, and hopefully fill some spots for people who are like, I'm looking for a game like this, but I don't want to spend too much. I don't want this. I don't want that. That's the kind of thing that we're looking at. So that's why we've been doing it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Molly, how you doing? Been playing a lot of Sword/Space Weirdos with my friend, and we've been loving how easy it is to build teams and just get playing. Absolutely. That's the thing. That's one of the things I love about it, is that how you can customize things as much as you want and then just start playing. And it's really nice that way. One of the, someone on, I think it's one of the Patreon folks or somebody, I forget now who, where was that? They sent it to me in Instagram. There is a book, which I ordered. It should show up in a couple of days. And it is made by, well, now I don't remember the person's name who wrote it, but it is a book called Sci-Fi Skirmish Scenarios, Small Unit Missions for Use with Your Favorite Wargaming Rules. It's basically a whole bunch of skirmish styled scenarios, but you can use them in any type of skirmish game. Done by John Lambshead or Lambshed. It's Lamb, like the little, sheep. And then it's Shead. So I can't tell if it's Lamb's Head or Lambshed. One of the two, I'm sure. But John Lambshed. And you can get it on like Amazon if you're into that kind of thing. Sci-fi skirmish scenarios. So if you're interested, take a look at that. Like I said, my copy will be coming soon. And because basically the suggestion was you take that and add it on to Space Weirdos and then you're set. Because the one thing Space Weirdos doesn't really have is a whole lot of scenarios for you to choose from. It's kind of in the book that he's like, I don't really want to write scenarios, so I didn't. And that's fine. So it's a $5 game. What are you going to do? But I'm intrigued by the concept of having like I want to know, I'd like to do a video about like, you get, I don't know, General's Handbook 2019, which is way out of date at this point, but there's a bunch of scenarios in there, I'm sure. Can you take those scenarios and then tweak them a little bit and then use them for the current version of Age of Sigmar, or potentially even like Age of Fantasy from One Page Rules or whatever? Like, scenarios in many situations should be pretty translatable, I would think, between rules editions or even games just in general. I don't know, but I think that's I think it's a good idea. Too bad GW feels like the need to reboot every 3 years. Yeah, I wish that they did not do that. They need to extend it to a 5-year cycle, at least. That's what I've been saying. At least a 5-year cycle. Are you the cool uncle who rips out Hero Quest or Death Wizards for your relatives, or do you play it cool by going fishing? I haven't gone fishing in so many years. My dad used to take me fishing, and I was too young to like appreciate it at the time. You know, I would always be fidgeting around and want to like mess with the rocks and stuff like that. One time I fell in the river, you know, because I was screwing around. And by the time that I got old enough that I would be able to just like sit and like fish and like drink a beer and like chat with my dad wasn't really fishing anymore. So that is a bummer. But I passed 42 models last week towards my yearly goal of 100 miniatures. Been hard to get stuff done with back injury in June. Yeah, back injury can be real rough for hobby. Constant rules churn from GW is definitely damaging customer trust, and it speeds folks to the Trust Thermocline. You are not wrong. The Trust Thermocline is... I kind of referenced it in that video I did earlier part of the year about the tipping point, about GW's tipping point. It's kind of the same thing. Thermocline is kind of like, as water gets colder, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong on this, but as water gets colder and colder and colder, it hits a spot where all of a sudden then everything freezes, like quickly. And up until that point, you're not there at the thermocline yet, which is, I think, where the thermo comes from. I could be completely wrong on this, but it's basically, it's a tipping point sort of situation. And the trust thermocline is when, like, you trust a company and you trust them and you trust them, and all of a sudden you don't trust them anymore. Like, they've just pushed it that last bit over the line, and you're like, nope. And yeah, that's part of the problem. Badger airbrushes have a lifetime warranty where they'll refurb your airbrush for about $25. That's pretty cool. Feel the same way. I buy and paint a ton of kill teams or armies. They change the edition on a whim, and they expect us to buy more. Why not just add more models? They're a model company. I mean, you'd think. They like to think that they're a model company, but also a book company, but also, yeah, you know. I've heard from people that the gameplay loop for Star Wars X-Wing is pretty fun, but it's been discontinued. If that's true, are there enough STLs and PDF downloads out there to get the game still? To get into Star Wars X-Wing? That's a good question. I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of people on eBay who are selling, you know, their ships and stuff like that. So you could probably find a lot of that information, but that's about it. I'm interested in, I saw it at Gen Con, and I posted a picture about it, I think, someplace. But there's going to be a Star Trek kind of Armada style game that is allegedly written by guys who originally wrote X-Wing, I hear, something like that. WizKids is putting it out, so it's a pre-paint, but I think that they're also going to be selling an unpainted version too. I don't remember, I could be wrong on that. But it looks kind of cool, so I'm interested to see how that looks once it comes out. There's like a starter box that's got like a good size like Enterprise D, and then some other ship in there as well. I forget off the top of my head. Dominion, maybe? I don't know. And some other smaller ones too. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in just checking that out to see what it's like. So, what's your number one priority when you are at Nova? I don't know. Probably just kind of looking around and checking things out, talking to people. Like I said, I'll be at the Army Painter booth from noon till 3 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Got that class that we're teaching on Friday night. I don't know if I have a number one priority, to be honest with you, other than just try to have a good time and talk to people. Airbrush is great for terrain, dioramas, vehicles, and gunpla. Gunpla. I've never quite understood the usage of that word. Like, I get what they're talking about, but I don't know why gunpla was what, I suppose gunplay sounds like you're shooting people. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a Japanese thing. Uncle Adam, how did it feel getting cooked in YouTube comments over having an unpopular opinion on Kill Team? I mean, I think that if you went through and counted up, there were a lot more people that said, yeah, I really prefer the 2018 version than the people who were like the new version, or maybe not a lot more, but a decent number, surprising number, honestly. A lot of people were like, yeah, I don't like the new edition either. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it's interesting the way that people who like the last version, the 2021 version, and I don't begrudge someone for liking that version. It just wasn't for me. I like 2018, didn't like 2021, and I mentioned that. I've talked about it, but it's just like people take it real personally when I don't like something that they like, and I know that comes from a place of fear. I made a video about it a long time ago, but it is just surprising to me when people react so negatively to me saying, I don't think this is a good idea, and it's not for me. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's very strange. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on Turnip 28 Swill? It got like sort of released while I had COVID, so I have not had the chance to take a look at it yet. But I'm a Patreon supporter for Turnip 28, and I really want to sit down and look at it. But I'm probably not going to have time until I get back from DC. Hoping that the Veer Min or the Mantic starter will be adequate proxies for Skaven. Size seems okay. Plus, I believe in myself. That's the important thing. That's the important thing right there. Excuse me. Seeing you were live, popped in to drop the like. I appreciate that with the like and say hello. Hope all is well in chat. Absolutely. Majestic 13 was great as an SCP game. I don't know a ton about SCP. I have a general idea, but I don't know a ton about it. But I could see that working out relatively well with the little that I know about SCP. Still playing Gaslands and Classic Battletech at this time, but I am working towards playing Stargrave. Nice. Any plans for Death Wizard shirts? Need one to go with my Space Station Zero shirt? Yes. Before going to Gen Con, I designed 3 so far, and I had to get them printed as samples so I could see. One of them didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, so I had to change the artwork and then resample and stuff like that. So that's in progress, yeah. If I didn't come back with COVID from Gen Con, I probably would have had them up and live by now before going to Nova, but I wasn't able to get Jack done the entire time when I was sick there for like 2 weeks, basically. But it's in progress. Mostly getting roadmaps this year, so it's probably going to be quick. Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. Because like they've already, like I was assuming they were going to announce Kill Team at Nova, and the fact that they announced it a couple weeks early sort of surprised me. I was like, oh, well, there you go. We're mostly getting, I read that one. Do you have any wisdom or advice on painting yellowed aged skeletons versus browned dirty skeletons versus gray ancient skeletons? Oh, which ones are better as opposed to how to do it? I have a tendency to go with slightly dirty skeletons. So I have a tendency, my normal skeleton recipe these days is to prime them like a bone color, like an ivory or something like that. And then usually throw like a sepia tone type wash, soft tone, you know, whatever. Although there's actually now a sepia color in the Fanatic line of washes. And then let that dry and then go back and dry brush them with basically the same color that I started with, ivory or whatever, or, you know, that kind of thing. And that's literally about it. If you want to like make them just a touch dirtier, then you could go back again with wash in certain areas, but I would probably thin it before doing that. The art got me on Space Station Zero. I have my crew, but I haven't gotten around to play so many games, so little time. True. Rain in Hell 2, Rain in Heller. Ooh. As a big fan, I would love to see a fresh set of factions for Rain in Hell. I mean, we did add one new faction in the last... yeah, it was in Snarl. We added the... What the heck are they called? I don't have a copy of Snarl here. The Faithful? Something like that. I forget exactly what we called them. Looking for a game in finance trust fund. Rain in Hell 3, English Summer in Hell. Ooh. One game with endless updates also creates a FOMO effect, and people can feel pressured to keep up in a way that you don't want with new games every year. Oh yeah, for sure, exactly. That's the thing too. You know, like I don't think that people feel that they have to keep up with every single game that we make, because they could just be like, well, two things. Number one, our games are never out of stock because they're print on demand. It's nearly impossible for them to be out of stock. It's not like oh, well, if you don't get it when we first launch, you might not get it. No, you get it 6 months from now, get it a year from now, get it 3 years from now. I don't care. It'll be there, you know, which is, I think, one of the big benefits we have with doing stuff print on demand. Do we make as much money per unit as, say, like, you know, a company who sends stuff off to, let's say, I don't know, China to get printed and all that kind of stuff? No, but we never sell out. We never have to reorder. It's kind of fire and forget. Put the game out there and then don't have to worry about fulfillment and warehousing and production and all that kind of stuff. We can focus on answering people's questions, doing marketing, working on the next game, that kind of stuff. I think it's the smart way for us to go, at least, not for everybody. I'm basic. I play 40k, Age of Sigmar, and Kill Team. Nothing wrong with that. Rain in Hell, welcome to Florida. Ooh, it can be real humid from what I understand. I've been to Florida since 7th grade. I think it's been since 7th grade. John Lamb's Head is a wargaming legend. I had not known the name before. It's interesting. If I could buy the games you and Vince produce at a retail location, I would in a heartbeat. I mean, there are some retail locations here and there that reach out to us, and then we send them a code so that they can buy the stuff at a discount and then put it in their stores. So if you've got a local store nearby, let them know to, if you want them to carry our games, you could tell them to go to our website, which is snarlingbadger.com, and way down at the bottom in the footer, there's a thing that says retailer portal, and then they could, reach out to us from there. We can work with them and all that kind of stuff. But in general, like, we're not in distribution or anything like that, because it's just, it doesn't make sense for us to do it that way. Let's see here. Friend and I use our OPR scenarios in games of Bloodfields. Just have to do a little fidgeting to make them to make sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I get that. Wizards of the Coast, Pure Evil only has 6 editions for their game. Games Workshop, Less Evil, we're getting new editions every 3 years for no reason. I mean, it's just different flavors of the same kind of problem. You know what I mean? Not scenarios per se, but 40k Rogue Trader from 1987 has a fantastic plot generator in its advanced gamer section. Nice. I mean, that's kind of fun too. I remember when the original Kill Team, the 2018 Kill Team, had a page for every different army in that book that gave you a generator to make different names for all your people and stuff like that. And I was always like, huh, that's interesting. They're wasting, in my opinion, page space on that, but whatever, it's fine. As a fellow gent who missed the chance to go fishing with his dad before he passed, take the opportunity because it's going to be gone for a year. Sure, yeah. Let's see here. I still play X-Wing 1.0. Yeah, my friend Eric and I, we still play. We haven't done it in a while, but we just never updated even to the 2nd edition, so yeah. There are some pretty solid initiatives to continue support for X-Wing and Armada. I kind of assumed that would be the case. You know what I mean? It makes sense. You get people who are like, look, I still like this game. Just because you guys don't want to sell it anymore doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing it. It makes sense. That's one of the benefits of, of tabletop wargaming. Good morning from Northern California. Glad to actually be up at time to catch the live. Absolutely. I appreciate that. The compendium being removed was just an issue of being a smart buyer. It was obvious that it's not meant to last because it wasn't rebalanced at all. It's a choice on their part to do it that way, and I think it's the wrong one because it doesn't allow you to, again, have the agency to build things the way that you want. Again, within reason, obviously. People are like, yeah, but you can't do that. You can't have both bespoke lists and also the compendium. And I'm like, Warcry. Warcry does both. You know what I mean? I'm not even saying another company can do it, so why can't Games Workshop? Games Workshop can do it, so why can't Games Workshop? Kind of seems weird. Star Trek Armada, I would give a shot, especially if you can play Klingons. Do I have the picture still? Let me look. Because I took a picture of it, the starter box thingy or whatever that they had at... They weren't selling it yet, but they had it at... It's called Star Trek Into the Unknown. Yeah, and this starter, which you're not going to be able to see here, is definitely Federation versus Dominion core set. I don't know if this is anything you can see, but yeah, there's the big there's a big Enterprise D and then a Dominion ship, and I think that I took a close-up picture kind of the Enterprise D that they had out as well. And so, yeah, I think it's coming out maybe in fall. I'm not sure yet. Gundam Plastic. Oh, see, I thought it was Gundam Play. Gundam Plastic. Gunpla. Okay, well, that makes more sense. I get it. Let's see here. Literally every decision GW makes is designed to force you to buy more models. I've switched fully to OPR. I mean, yes, it's difficult to be mad at them because they are a giant corporation with shareholders. When you get to that point, you're screwed. You have to do the evil thing most of the times. You have to do the thing that is going to generate more value for shareholders. Like everything that a company that big does is just about trying to make more money for the shareholders, and it is what it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it makes me less likely to be interested in getting into that ecosystem when I know it's going to be a churn of every 3 years, and they're going to make it so that it's nearly impossible for you to play the way you want without buying more stuff and all that kind of jazz, which is why, small, nimble companies like One Page Rules specifically are able to be like, look, we're going to give you all these different options and all this different stuff, and we're going to set it at low prices, because they don't have thousands of employees. They have, I bet they don't even have a dozen employees. Well, I don't know how many sculptors they have, but I know I had a meeting with the guys from One Page Rules at Adepticon, and I think there were like 3 or maybe 4 like main people. I met with 3. I met with Gaetano, who's the guy who started the whole shebang. I met with Jefferson, who is their like community guy. And then the third guy's name, I can't remember. It's either Pierre or something else. But he was, I think, French or French adjacent. Super nice guy. But yeah, I obviously they have sculptors on staff because they crank out so many different STLs every month. But it's a much, 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 much smaller company. And it doesn't make as much money as Games Workshop. But they're doing real well for themselves when they're small, and that's the way it works. So I'm a strong believer, frankly, that the tabletop wargaming space should be smaller companies, because you wouldn't get the type of stuff that you're getting, I feel, from Games Workshop these days, as far as like the business practices and such. Star Trek game, you said. Interesting. Yeah, it's called Star Trek Into the Unknown. In my opinion, literally every decision GW makes is designed to force you to buy more. I think I read that already. Sorry. Despite hobbyists' valid issues and critiques, GW profits and stocks are at all-time highs. They have no incentive to change anything, more likely than lean into current practices. Currently, yes. It's always the concern. I think I got brighter somehow. It's always the concern. When's that gravy train going to run out? When are they going to run out of goodwill? And that's the issue. Sure, they're doing great right now. And, you can keep twisting that thumb screw and trying to get more and more profit out and more profit out. But eventually you're going to hit that tipping point that I mentioned, where all of a sudden people will be like, you know what, screw you guys. I'm not buying any more of your trash. And then that will just continue to happen. The thermocline, yada, yada. And then everything just goes, and then so... when they're not thinking long term and thinking that 3 years is a great thing for their bottom line to produce as much money as possible, eventually, and you see it here in the comments, people are like, I'm not playing that 3-year game anymore. Thanks, but no thanks. And then as that continues to happen, then we will see. So I don't know. I think looking at profits right now is like, well, this is obviously working, is not necessarily always the answer. You know what I mean? It's doing great right now, and they're thinking, I'm sure their shareholders are like, this is working perfectly. But shareholders are very short-sighted, I find, in many situations. Star Trek Alliance is already out. It's the DS9 Dominion War soloable too. So yeah, that one I haven't heard about. This is, I think, a different thing. Well, because it's called something different, so I'm assuming it's different. Hey from Norfolk, how you doing? Just teaching my 10-year-old son more painting. Nice. Did some dry brushing and a little edge highlighting on Stormcast Eternal. Off to a great start. Nice. Excuse me, goodness. Let's see here. Star Wars and Trek had their time in the sun. When are we going to get back Babylon 5 Wars? The people demanded. Well, I would like to have somebody to play with. Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people are demanding, Babylon 5 as much as they are Star Wars and Star Trek. There are Star Wars and Star Trek shows currently on television and such, whereas I don't know that there's been any Babylon 5 in a while. I like the look and tone of Battlestar Galactica and things like Buck Rogers. I think Buck Rogers isn't known by the young folks these days. That's probably the case. So I could see that being a thing. They should bring that back as a television show. That'd be fun. You enjoy something different from me? Clearly that makes you a mecha Hitler. Wow. Okay. Is that from the Wolfenstein game, the original one? Any leads on Death Wizard's cards in the UK? No. There's only currently one company that they work with for printing cards, unfortunately. We actually had to talk about this with our rep when we were at Gen Con, as we met with our rep, Steve. They still only really have one company that they can do the card printing through, and it's an American company. Whereas the book printing can be done in both the UK and the US, and even technically to Australia, but it's still a little squirrely how it works. So there's problems about that. So currently the only good option is if you want to buy the PDF and then like you could print them yourself or something and sleeve them, that kind of thing or whatever. That's the only good answer we unfortunately have right now, just because of the manufacturing situation. Death Wizards is my favorite game you guys have made, even though I bought all of them. Fantasy is my jam. Heavy metal style shirts, please. Yep. Oh yeah. One of them is. I keep looking around like I would have a shirt laying around here, but I don't, because I washed them and stuff. But yeah. There's definitely one or two off the top of my head right now that just have like a big kind of like piece of the artwork, and then it says Death Wizards underneath it, and it's just like on a black shirt and stuff like that and everything. The cough is coming back. So yeah, that's on its way. People see you had the power to remind GW that co-op exists. Sort of kidding. Yeah. So then you not liking the thing that they like means it will stop existing. Once again, I'm kind of kidding. See, that's the thing. Like like I said, it comes from a place of fear to some degree, because someone, like if you're at a store and you see someone pick up a game you don't play, some people will tell that person who's picking up this game that they don't play, that the other person doesn't play. Like let's say you're a Malifaux player and you see someone pick up Infinity, and then you're going to be like, Infinity's not a very good game. You don't want that game. It's got problems. It's whatever. It's it's a Spanish company. I don't know why that would matter, but they just make up stuff or say stuff, and they'll be like, what you should be looking at really is this game, which is Malifaux. And in a store situation, you do that because you want more people to play against at your local store. So when someone looks at something else, then you're like, am I the wrong person? Am I playing the wrong game? Because this person's looking at that or what? So it comes from a place of fear in many situations. Have you ever painted a fleet of spaceships? I have not, no. I think nowadays you can't have an opinion about anything anymore. Well, that's a bummer, because it seems like a lot of people do. There's always a keyboard warrior throwing poop just for the sake of it. I mean, that's just for the sake of it, yeah. What are your predictions for what GW will announce at Nova? Honestly, I got nothing. I have no idea. Like I said, initially I thought it was going to be new Kill Team. I just assumed it was going to be new Kill Team, and then they did it a couple weeks early, and I was like, oh, okay, well. I mean, they could just do, like someone I think earlier in the chat mentioned, it could just be a lot of roadmap work, and they could just be like, look, this is what's coming, and that's fine. But I don't know if they'll announce anything specifically new, but yeah, maybe they will. I haven't heard anything. Let's see here. What do you think about Necromunda these days? Is it possible for a beginner to start with this wargame? I have no idea how. I literally don't know how you would. I know there's videos out there about how to get into it. I don't know. I think you could. it just is not an it's not a smooth on ramp. It's a bit of a, you need some big thick books, and then you can get into it. And yeah, it's tough, which is unfortunate because the terrain is awesome, the models are awesome, the concept in general is awesome. I just wish it was a bit of a slightly simpler game. One Page Rules has something called Gang War, which is basically kind of their version of Necromunda. You could, if you were like really into the models but not into the rules, you could, do that if you wanted to. There's that option as well. Though I think people tired of GW Treadmill can also go overboard with getting a very small indie skirmish game. I buy a lot of indie games, but partially it's sometimes just because I just really want to read them, and maybe I will never play them, but maybe I will. But the ability to like dig around in my collection and be like, this'll work, and then use that and play the game, for me is a huge seller on an inexpensive indie game. Like Mech 28 here. Like I technically you can download this for free, but so it's not much of a cost. But like this game is a mech game where you have a single mech and it's 28 millimeter scale, so it's generally 4 inches or slightly taller. I already have like a robot-y mechy kind of thing that I painted up for a sponsored video from Arch Villain Games, I don't know, a couple years ago. And I was looking at that just recently. I'm like, I'll use that in Mech 28. And you got nothing you got to do at that point. You know what I mean? And being a 28 millimeter scale mech game as well with Mech 28, hence the 28 part, you don't have to worry about like having small terrain because it's for Battletech. You can use normal, like terrain that you would use for 40K or Age of Sigmar or whatever, because again, it's a 28 millimeter scale game. So then you just use your 28 millimeter scale terrain. So trees, rocks, ruins, whatever. Like, because if you put Battletech miniatures next to 28 millimeter ruins, those buildings are massive, right? But when you put a 4 or 5 inch mech walking around amongst those same buildings and they're the same scale, then it doesn't seem that then the scale seems right. So I think that's the benefit, is that hopping around, like, I don't know, I like to hop around. I don't want to be a person who just plays the one game. You know what I mean? It'd be like just reading one type of book. I only read Star Wars novels or something like that, or I only watch Star Wars movies. Yeah, but what about other movies? No, not into it. That's the way I like to do it. We have run out of PDF files to print on. You'll have to go onto eBay. What? Lee Sweeney, how you doing? That blasted Samoflange. Why is Wizards of the Coast more evil than GW? Just sending the Pinkertons to collect magic cards? I mean, that's true. Went to the Corvus Belly website. I like what I see, but it seems so hard to get into their games. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about Infinity years ago because I've got friends that play it sort of locally on and off. And I went to the Army Builder and I was just like, I did not know what was going on. And I think that sometimes that's the problem in games, is that there's not enough, like, I literally need to explain this to you like you have no idea. I think it's a not seeing the trees for the forest kind of situation or whatever. When you're super deep into it, you go, well, obviously this is how you start. But when you've never done it before, that's not obvious. So yeah, it's when I was first starting to get into Steel Rift, I said to the guys at one point, I'm like, you know what you guys got to do? It'd be really nice if you guys would just publish a couple of like starter, like, hey, here's an example list if you want to know how to get going. And then people could look at that and then go, oh, I see how to do that. And either just use that list or go, okay, well, I'm going to like tweak this and tweak that and whatever, but you've got a jumping off point. And I just realized recently that they had done that. I don't know if it was necessarily because of my, suggestion, but they did. They do have a bunch of like starter lists and stuff like that now on their website, so you can get into the game and not have to like start from scratch, which I think is nice. Are you interested in Fallout Factions at all? Picked it up at Gen Con. Haven't started building it yet. Yesterday, I primed and base coated the Halo Flashpoint miniatures that came with the game. There's 8 of them, 4 and 4. Yeah. And then there was also a ninth guy that didn't come with the game, but it was Andy from Mantic gave it to me at Adepticon, and I just hadn't put it together yet. But it's like a nice, super high detail, like resin Spartan. And so I put him together, and I'm painting him a completely separate color. Like I'm painting the Spartans that came in the box, because there's like bright blue plastic and bright red plastic. I'm painting them like military style colors. There's like a greenish and like a deserty color for my two factions. So it's kind of opposite of the way that they were, the bright red and the bright blue. But then that one guy who is in the higher res kind of resin, him I painted. He is like, I think the color is called Gemstone, and it is basically an army painter airbrush like metallic red. So he's like super metallic red, and it's going to be kind of interesting. Yeah, so that's what I did yesterday afternoon after I got done streaming for the Patreon folks. Is I got those guys. I stuck them to paint sticks with some Gorilla Glue brand. They're like poster putty stuff. The Gorilla Glue poster putty is amazing. It's the best poster putty I've ever used. So if you can get that stuff at your local hardware store or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I was spending time on yesterday. I also worked on some robot overlords from One Page Rules, which are basically kind of their versions of Necrons, sort of. I got 5 of them, and I primed them black, and then I was going to do a secondary color, like and then I just couldn't decide on which one, so I just said, well, I'll clean out the airbrush, and then I'll go think about it and maybe do it again tomorrow or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really interested in trying out the new Star Trek game. Also, the pre-painted models are a definite benefit. Yeah, I'm very interested in checking it out as well, especially since it's designed, from what I've been told, it's designed, I think, by at least 1 or 2 of the people who worked on X-Wing. So, we'll give it a try. Looks like a good Star Trek game. Armada content creator reviews are positive. Oh, nice. Dominion doesn't interest me enough to jump on, but Klingons, Romulans, or the Borg, that's a different thing. I'm assuming they'll come out with that stuff later on. I wouldn't say why they wouldn't. Seizing the means of gaming production, I like it, indeed. Wargamer Girl, how you doing? I think being publicly traded might be the worst thing to happen to a wargaming company. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely a problem. Boom, there we go. One doesn't need to make as much money as GW to be a successful company. GW doesn't need to make as much money as GW makes to be a successful company. The only thing driving it up is line goes up. Yeah, you're not wrong. I've hit a creative spark in myself somehow lately and have been working on multiple projects concurrently and actually making visible progress. Well, that's good. That's very good. The GW problem basically has historically been that there are always going to be new 13-year-olds to get into it. I mean, that's probably true. Hopefully, unless we get one of those like Children of Men kind of situations, but let's not do that. So the same thing with comics too. I don't begrudge companies, even large ones, for making money at all, but eventually the paying customers will buy something else. That's how I got into wargaming. Sure. Stop checking the Warhammer community site completely, just not interested in what they develop anymore. I find that the articles are so marketing heavy that sometimes and I get it. That's, but still it's weird. I don't know. GW has the best models and one of the vastest and craziest IPs in the industry. That's just a fact, but that is all that is driving them. Everything else is barely tolerated, but that is changing. I mean, they're probably the best models, sure. I mean, there are companies that are catching up, for sure. Vastest and craziest, it's certainly the craziest IP, and it is quite vast. I don't care about IP in most situations, so that's also not a big deal for me. I think that, I generally can't care less about IP for the most part. There was that one animated Babylon 5 film that was actually really good. I had no idea. Babylon 5 is going to have a reboot real soon now. Really? It'd be kind of cool. Got a Babylon 5 comic, I think a cartoon for a bit. Well, that's kind of neat. Snoarling Badger Studios, seizing the means of gaming production. Why not? Battlestar Galactica miniatures game was really good. Oh yeah, there was one, wasn't there? I forgot about that. but died due to licensing. That is the issue. Licensing is real hard. Real hard. Babylon 5, own the series after you get through the first season, one of the best series on TV. This is why I have a tendency not to watch a lot of TV series anymore, because you hear that a lot. Like, well, once you get through that first season, then it's really good. And I'm like, then maybe they should have started on season 2. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a very... I think Rex just sneezed. I have a very short attention span for series when they're like, well, you got to get through a bunch of weird stuff, and then it starts getting good. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make it. Cupcakes are baked, and now I can relax. Nice. Let's see here. There's supposed to be a new Buck Rogers movie, and Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray were supposed to do a cameo as the new Buck's parents. I guess it's stalled. I didn't know Gil Gerard was still alive. I knew Aaron Gray was still alive for some reason. Let's see here. Hope that those are carrot cake cupcakes. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I find the Infinity Rules inscrutable. I have not tried the newest edition. Well, I take that back. Actually, I haven't tried 4 or 5. But I tried a demo of version 2, and I did 2 different demos of version 3, and it never landed with me. Sam was giving me a demo of version 3 at one point years ago, and like the rules I feel like the rules are written by a person who's never played a war game before, and that's not necessarily bad. I'm not saying this person's bad or dumb. They're just not following the normal tropes or whatever that most people generally do when they write rules. Like, one of Sam's characters was like running up behind a wall and then climbed up and got up onto the top part of this thing. And he's like, well, okay, you can shoot me at any point. I don't get any cover. I'm like, you are behind a building. How do you not have cover? And he's like, well, because there's a hole in the wall here, so you could see me as I was running, and when I stopped, I was not within 1 inch of the little short wall up on the second level, so technically I have no cover. I'm like, you're above me and I can barely see you. He's like, yeah, but according to the rules, I don't have any cover, or something like that. It was some sort of squirrely situation where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And I know it has partly to do with the ARO kind of thing where you can shoot at any time, but like literally, there should have been no point in which that guy had no cover. It just didn't make sense. But the way that it was laid out, you know. Speaking of cover, I really hope that they do try to fix the cover rules for the new version of Kill Team, because the old ones were not great. But yeah, like that stuff is kind of important, and it doesn't seem like it should be that hard in many situations. But you know, it's hard to say. Mountaineer, how you doing? As far as new GW announcements, isn't the new Horus Heresy approaching the end of its 3-year lifespan? Yeah, maybe that's next year? Excuse me. Because I know that Age of Sigmar and Kill Team, their like date for that stuff is the same time, but I don't think it's Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, and Horus Heresy the same year, but I could be wrong. Wait, I can look it up. I can go back and look and see when the video I made about the Age of Darkness box was. I think. Which was a good deal. I'm very interested to see what the cost of this... I was going to say Riverdance. That's not the name of the thing. Hivestorm. Why did Riverdance pop into my head? Anyway, Hivestorm. I'm very interested to see what the cost of it is going to be, because with the terrain that they've got in there and the 2 different forces, the number that hits my head is going to be 285. I really do think it could be as much as that. I'm scrolling. Oh, that's a Warcry box. Shadow Vault sold out. Terrain, more Warcry. Here we go. Who is the Age of Darkness? Yeah, see, according to this, that video about the Age of Darkness box was from 2022. So technically, New Horus Heresy, if they're going to follow the 3-year thing, should be 2025. So that's probably the case in that situation. I didn't think they happened the same year as Age of Sigmar and Kill Team. Let's see here. You are more powerful than just some random dude at the store to many people. It isn't fair, but it's part of having a platform. I mean, but I think that people don't need to react that way. Again, it's my opinion. So when I say this isn't for me, I'm saying that I don't like this, but you might. You know what I mean? It's not being a news platform, technically. I don't want to just... Well, here's the thing. If I was just a news platform and I said, here's the marketing information from the company for the new product, and I put this information out there so that you can know it without having to go look at their website where you could just see it all yourself, I don't want to make those videos. No one wants to make those videos. Well, that's not true. Some people do, maybe, if they get paid to make them, but I'm not getting paid to make these videos directly by Games Workshop or other companies. There are YouTube channels out there who do a lot of sponsored stuff, and then they talk about these things. But in many situations there, they also have to make it clear that this is a sponsored message. So then you go, okay, well, this person's being paid to say that. I'm giving an opinion on a thing, but my opinion's not the end all be all. It's just me saying, look, here's what I'm seeing. Like, they've said that they're getting rid of the compendium stuff, basically. They've said that they are adding co-op and solo, which is cool. And they're getting rid of those weird shapes on the rulers. So there's a couple of good things and a couple of things I don't like. And I put that information out there. And I did mention that I was disappointed because of the fact that they don't seem to be changing the rules and the list building, and they're getting rid of the compendium. These are disappointing things to me. But you may go, well, that's awesome. Those are the things that I hate. So this sounds great, and I will buy it. I don't go out there and say generally, this is bad. I'm just saying maybe it's disappointing to me. It's not what I'm looking for, that kind of stuff. But again, you have to understand, I think, as a person who watches videos on the internet, they're all opinion. I don't care if it's NBC or Fox or anybody. Even the news channels are opinion, it seems to be in this day and age. So everything is that person's opinion, man. You know what I mean? Like from Lebowski. So yeah, I think that, because I can't tell you how many people told me how my opinion is wrong. And I'm like, that's not how opinions work, man. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. Whenever I talk about 40K related stuff, the comments go sideways. And it is generally either, if I like it, well, then I'm a shill. If I don't like it, then I'm being negative, or I'm whatever, or a hater or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I think it's the 40K community. I think that's really literally a part of it, a big part of it. Let's see here. Carrot cake cupcakes sound pretty good. Do you think there's room in the market for a larger scale, semi-historical fantasy miniatures game? Something like a 40K version of Clan War or War Gods? Larger scale, you mean like bigger scale this way, like 54 millimeter? Or do you mean like more like a big army of 28 millimeter dudes? I don't know. I mean, there's room in the market for everything. Whether it sells or not is always obviously the big issue. That's a good question. I saw there would be announcements for Old World at Nova. Why can't they just announce all of the armies? I've been waiting for Wood and High Elves since they announced them. Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing with Old World, and I don't know that I'm supposed to. I had the same experience with Corvus Belli Infinity Army Builder. Sample lists would be amazing and make it a lot easier to step in. Yeah, I think everybody could kind of do that a little bit. Hoping for that particular wood elf dragon with the big goofy hands shaped more like a more different S. Nice. Consummate V's. I also got to work on terrain done this last week. Oh, that's cool. Corvus Belli New Edition will have an Essentials line and intro video series to ease getting into Infinity. That's good. Warcrow, not Warcry. Warcrow looks like it will have something like that already. That's good. It's a smart move. Being publicly traded is the worst thing to happen to any company, and people who say you need it to get big always ignore IKEA. Yeah, you just don't get rich quick. It's true. It's exactly the case. Working on finishing my Imperial Guard custom 3D combat patrol list. Got to admit, I liked using Mesh Mixer to build. Well, that's kind of cool. Neat. Heavily invested in Spectre operations from Spectre Miniatures. It's a modern warfare style game and rules are solid. I think I've heard of that, but I'm not sure. I always sort of cringe at the idea of buying a Star Wars or Star Trek game. There's always that voice in the back of my head asking how long before this company loses IP rights and the game dies. I mean, yeah, I guess the trick is to not go, to maybe not go super crazy heavy into it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I look at this new Star Trek game or whatever to be something where I could pick some things up for it to play a game and have a good time with it, but not go, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars into it, you know. But even if you do, like we were saying earlier, you can still just play, you know, Star Wars version one, you know, if you want. They're not going to take it away. So there's that benefit too. Even if they decide, oh, well, we're going to stop making it, you can still continue to play. Good evening from Bahrain. How you doing? Are there any vendors at the Nova Open you are interested in going to purchasing from? Thanks for taking the time to chat for a few minutes at Nova 18. Yeah, I actually don't think I've looked yet at the vendor list. Well, hang on, can we? Maybe. Let's take a look. Nova Open. Nova Open. Doop. Let's see here. Sponsors and vendors. I don't know if there's like a map. Because these are people. Okay, so Atlantic Comics and Games, Games and Gears, Tabletop Terrain, Army Painter, Monument, Your Hobby Place. I don't know what that is. Oh, those are chess pieces. I was like, what the heck are those? Death Ray Designs. I always like to see Death Ray Designs there because that's they don't usually go to Gen Con, but they go to AdeptCon, they go to Nova. It makes sense. And so, yeah. Baron of Dice, seen them there before. Parabellum, didn't know about that. Game Envy, I know has been there in the past. I'm pretty sure Broken Egg has been there. TNT Laser Works. I think I've bought stuff from them before. Bra Full of Sawdust. It'll be nice to see her again. She does good work. I bought like some dice trays from her, I think. Or I bought something from her. What did I buy? Dice trays or maybe tiny little dice towers? I think it was maybe dice towers. Critical Hit Gaming Artisan. I'm not familiar with them. Armor Class 10. They make lots of t-shirts. Games Workshop. Corvus Belli. Captain Con. Table War. Nice. Black Powder Red Earth. Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Arena Rex. Artist Opus. A-Case. Chronicle. Mantic. Goblin's Hut. I don't know what that thing is. Nico Galaxy. I don't know what they are. Catalyst, that's Battletech and such. Nations and Cannons. Collins Epic War Games. Harder and Steenbeck. Oh, nice. That's the airbrush people. And spraygunner.com. Interesting. Oh, and these are all, you can click on them. What is this thing? Fire and Ash. Oh, I bought stuff from her too. I think I bought maybe dice trays from her and dice towers from Bra Full of Sawdust. I think. Goblin's Hut. What do they sell? Oh, duh. Yeah, the Dirty Down people. Oh, yeah. Yep. They'd make the cool rust. Wow, those are bigger bottles. 250 milliliter liquid effects. Wow. But yeah, they make this really cool stuff. It's a little weird. Like not weird. You have to like, it literally oxidizes. And so you have to kind of like put it on and then like sprinkle a little bit of water on there and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. But yeah, that's who Goblin's Hut is. They changed their logo, which is why I don't recognize it. Like the GH together, I would have been like, oh yeah, I know those guys. But then this new thing with the just little hut, I don't remember. What's this? Chronicle. Yeah, it just looks like they sell paintbrushes and some stuff, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, there's I don't know if there's any vendors yet that I'm super crazy about. You know, like I might get some stuff from Death Ray Designs, especially if they've got some of their Solar Shift, I think is what they've got. If they've got some of the Solar Shift stuff there, then I could see picking some of that stuff up, because I bought some of it at Adepticon, at Gen Con. It's just those little like hover tanks and little vehicles and stuff like that. So that'd be kind of cool. I've learned that when someone says, once you get past the first season, I can usually just look up a synopsis and then start in the second season. Yeah. Heard the same thing about X-Files. Apparently I watched every bad episode, so I couldn't get into it. Kolchak the Night Stalker for the win. There you go. Working on a 32 Ford Woody today, but alternating with building my Free Guild Steel Hums. Neat. I tried watching Infinity Battle Reports and can't follow them. It's a very different game, like I said, because you can like interrupt, you know, that kind of stuff. That's a thing you don't see a lot in a lot of games. But I would like to see some of the new 5th edition battle reports for that, and just kind of try to get a hang of that too, maybe. Are there Mech 28 rules from the Planet 28 game system? I'm intrigued. No, two different folks. Planet 28 is done by an English guy whose name I can't remember now. Shoot. It's Mammoth Miniatures, I think, is the name of the company. Mech 28 is done by a guy named Bill Ward, a.k.a. Berserker Works on Instagram. And yeah, if you just type in Mech 28, there's no C. It's just MEK 28. You'll find it, and you can download it for free, because it's just a text file, honestly. He made up these booklets and had them at Adepticon and gave me one, which was very nice of him. But yeah, it's a free download. I hate the ARO. How does someone get unlimited reactions? Makes it more hide and seek than kill team. Yeah, that is a problem too. I give that. Every time I see a lawyer TV commercial, I expect to see a structured settlement about those kill team cover rules. I don't know if it's that bad. I mean, maybe you might be owed compensation. Hi from North Georgia. Sorry I'm late today. Well, I mean, it's a weird day. I normally don't do 2 Sundays in a row, but I'm going to be in DC next week for Nova, so I figured it better to do it now versus not. Did you say 285? I'm not interested in the new kill team because I'm not into list building. Did you say 285? I don't know what you mean by 285. I agree with you, but people are people. People are people. Would you say that Games Workshop hobbying is a luxury hobby? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty expensive, you know. I mean, obviously there's more expensive hobbies. You know, you could be repairing and refurbishing classic cars, or God forbid airplanes. Oh, I used to work for a company that was like it was a membership organization for people who were into airplanes, specifically people who like to fix up like old airplanes or build airplanes from scratch, you know, from kits and stuff like that. Yeah, and anytime you'd see somebody who like came to the big air show and they flew in a P-51, that person was rich as hell. I mean, like, World War II planes cost millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to try to impress somebody with your, Learjet or your G5 or whatever, that's one thing. But man, you flying in a Spitfire, that's some serious cash. Yeah. Except for that one guy who decided he wanted his own Spitfire, so he built a 1-to-1 scale wooden Spitfire, which was amazing. Like, it looked exactly like a Spitfire, but when you touched it and you clunked, you're like, that's wood, dude. What's going on? And it's just crazy. I'll miss the old kill team ranges. Was so easy. If you are further away than a triangle, but within one hexagon, then you can just use the square to measure how many octagonals you can move. Oh yeah, no, that does sound easy. In all honesty, you are one of the most balanced voices in the wargaming community regarding whether something is being for you or being specifically for your own personal opinion. I appreciate that. You're being honest for the hardcore community. You're calling their baby ugly. I mean, yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of that. I think if it was actually a baby and it was actually ugly, I wouldn't call it an ugly baby. That seems mean to the parents. At the very least, I'd be like, oh, yeah, look at that. Baby's got big hands. That's gonna be a football player. And they're like, because they're as big as the baby's head. That's a weird thing, right? But I can feel better about calling the baby ugly in this situation because it's not actually a baby, and it's it's made by a big corporation that's got lots of shareholders, and despite what the government may say, corporations aren't people, so you don't have to, they're made up of people, but they're not actually a people, so I don't have to worry about making them sad. I went to use my last rattle can of Corax White, and it seems all the propellant leaked. Does anyone know an equivalent color in another brand? I have a lot of stuff base coated with it. I kind of felt like Corax White was just white, but maybe is it slightly off-white? I don't know. Yeah, rattle cans don't last that long. That's one of the reasons why I've also become very happy with doing most of my priming with an airbrush, is because a rattle can will last about a year. And sometimes you'll buy a rattle can and it's already been on the shelf, depending on the game store, for maybe 6 months or longer. So you're already behind the 8 ball as far as that's concerned, and that's a bummer. So yeah, I've been also telling Army Painter, I'm like, hey, you guys, you need to make, because their airbrush primer, specifically the black, I'm getting a new bottle of the white soon. They're sending me a new bottle of the white primer. But I haven't used it in a long time. But the black primer is what I use most of the time, and it's spectacular. It's very nice and smooth. It sticks really well. It doesn't peel up at all when I throw a bunch of washes or speed paints over the top of it and everything like that, as long as I let it sit. But I've been telling those folks over at Army Painter, you guys need to make, all those rattle cans you make of different colored primers, you need to make a matched color airbrush primer for every one of those. That would be dope. But they haven't gotten to that point yet, but hopefully someday. Hoping Blood Bowl 3rd season isn't an overhaul and just consolidated the huge FAQ. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't kept up with Blood Bowl in a long time. Definitely more expensive hobbies out there, fixing classic cars, and yeah, fishing, especially if you get because you can fish for super cheap, but you can also end up with a fishing boat, and that's kind of expensive. Losing the Star Wars IP is what killed my favorite 90s card game. Star Wars CCG, Decipher lost the rights, and boom, dead. That's always the issue with the rights thing. That's always the issue with licensing, Warcrow minis look super cool, but I'm super not happy about the custom dice. Yeah, the custom dice is a real bummer. I spent way more money on photography equipment and supplies. Oh yeah, photography can be real expensive too, sure. Why is it so hard for people to understand that once you buy a game, it's yours? You can do what you want. If you don't like something, leave it out. If you think it needs something, add it in. I think it's partially because people are used to that not being the case. Not necessarily within wargaming, but within, let's say, like video gaming, within lots of things. I think that because so many war games are becoming very board gamified, in that they have custom dice and custom tokens and all this and that and that it becomes a thing that it is a single package and I have to play it the way that they say. But really, even if they throw in custom dice and this and that and all this other jazz, you can still do what you want. But one of the reasons I like games like this, where this is the entire package, it's a thin little book, and then I need to provide my own dice and tape measures and models and all that kind of stuff, is because it keeps me in the mindset of oh yeah, I'm going to customize the heck out of this, or I'm going to tweak this, or if we don't like this rule, we're not going to mess with it. The other thing too is that there are a lot of people out there who are thinking, even if they don't play in tournaments, they think, yeah, but if I change the rules, then I can't play in tournaments. Well, do you play in tournaments a ton? Okay, well then you can't. But if you don't play in tournaments much, then why do you care? That's part of it as well. Let's see here. It's almost the end of the show. Didn't know Nova was so awesome. Gonna have to plan to go. It's a great convention. I like it a lot. I've been going since, 2017 maybe? I don't quite remember. That might be right. Obviously missed a couple of years there because of the whole COVID thing and whatnot. But yeah, the new location is great. Been real happy with it. Like I mentioned earlier, just because it's like a bigger size and all that kind of stuff, but it's also there's a lot more stuff around there, like restaurants and things like that. The old place was a cool building, but they had to bring in food trucks because either you ate at the hotel restaurant, which was not cheap because it's a hotel restaurant, or you kind of didn't because there wasn't really. There was like one restaurant within like 4 or 5 blocks of there, and it was kind of like a Chipotle, but for Mediterranean food. I forget what it was called, but it was good. But you don't want to eat there every day, you know, or whatever. So yeah, now with the new location, you just pick a direction, north, south, east, west, whatever. Walk for 2, 3 blocks, and you'll walk past 4 or 5 different restaurants. So it's nice. With the discontinuation of X-Wing, it would be a great time for GW to finally reveal a new edition of Battlefleet Gothic. I feel almost as if there's somebody at Games Workshop who doesn't like that game and doesn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like there's like some executive or somebody who's like, nope, not on my watch. I don't know why. It is weird. Decided to cancel my trip to Nova because I was going mainly for the Sigmar event, and competitive Sigmar is just broken right now. Nighthaunt are so overpowered that it's broken the game. Oh, that's a bummer. I've heard that Nighthaunt are pretty powerful. I'm just like, how did you guys release this with that kind of screw on? Like, it's always interesting to me about how a company that big can still really put something out and just be like, oh yeah, no, this is really unbalanced. And you're like, how did you, I don't know. It's very strange. Hard to believe the GW when they say they play test in any capacity. I know, and they talked about how much they play tested, specifically the Spearhead portion of it. But I do wonder sometimes. Let's see here. That was a quick 2 hours, says John. I don't disagree. It does seem like that. Corax White is actually a super pale gray. Interesting. Yeah, it is. It's a little bit after 11. So I want to thank everybody for coming by today in this kind of special edition every Sunday show as opposed to every other Sunday. But there won't be a show next week because, again, like I said, I'll be at Nova in Washington, D.C., having a good time, probably seeing, well, some of you as also Wargamer Girl. She was in here before. And because she'll be there because she's part of the group that like runs things there now these days, which is very cool. I don't know if I'll be publishing anything while I'm there. Maybe Twitter. I'll probably be posting some stuff on Twitter, so you might want to follow me on Twitter if you don't already, or if you're not into Twitter. Some people call it X, but I call it Twitter. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll try to do I tried to do a YouTube short last year during that, but it's kind of hard to edit while I'm at a convention. I always feel like I'm going to have time to edit, and then you never do because you're constantly doing stuff and talking to people and hanging around and having a good time, which is fun. So, yeah, have yourselves a good couple of weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks after I get back from the convention. And I'll stream on Monday night tomorrow on Twitch at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then I won't be streaming on Friday because I'll be in DC. And I'll probably stream the Monday after that because I'll be getting home Sunday night. So it won't be that big of a deal. So yeah, we'll see you folks then. Have yourselves a good rest of your weekend. Or if it's already Monday where you are, which it very possibly may be, have a good week. And we'll see you again real soon. And thanks for watching.